All right, so we are going to get started today, actually standing on our mats. So find that comfortable spot on your mat. Just kind of let your feet kind of sway back and forth and let the hands just kind of come down by the sides. And then we'll start to close the eyes. Start to take those deep breaths. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Starting to take this time to recognize that breath, starting to see how it makes us feel when we actually focus on that breath, moving in and out of the body. Also, we're taking this time with this breath to start to let the day go, starting to bring ourselves into our rooms and onto our mats. So just take the next few moments to just recognize and feel the breath. Take a few more deep inhales and exhales. And then we'll start to just kind of rock side to side here. Continue to keep those eyes closed. Just let that weight move back and forth into each foot. And then start to rotate frontwards and backwards. Now letting the weight go between the toes down to the heels of the feet. And then we'll just kind of sway in some circles around the feet. Feel free to switch directions. Maybe go one way and then go the other way. And then come back, center. Take a deep breath in and exhale it out. Continue to take a couple more breaths here. And then on the next inhale, we'll inhale, bring those arms up, bring that gaze up towards those thumbs. On the exhale, open those palms out wide, let those arms come down. Inhale, bring those arms up, gaze going up towards those thumbs. And exhale those arms down. And inhale, bring those arms up, gaze going up. Exhale, open those arms, let them come back down. And inhale, bring the arms up. And exhale them down. And again, we'll inhale, bring those arms up. And on this exhale, we're going to take the body, twist it over to that left side, let the arms come down, wrap them around, giving yourself a little hug here. And take a few deep breaths. And then on that next inhale, let those arms come up, bringing ourselves back forward. And on the exhale, let those arms fall down to that right side, twisting over, wrapping those arms around, giving yourself that little hug. And take those deep breaths. And on that next inhale, unwrap those arms, bringing them back up. On the exhale, let the left arm come down and just kind of rotate over that left side, stretching all down the right side, opening all those spaces between the lungs. Take those deep breaths. Try to keep the weight even between the feet so you're not putting all that weight into that left foot. And then on that next inhale, bringing that arm back up. And on the exhale, let that right arm come down, rotate over that right side. Stretch all those left rib cages apart. And take those deep breaths. Again, try to keep that weight even between those feet. And on that next inhale, bring ourselves back up. We're going to interlace those hands together at the top. Rotate those palms so they're facing up towards the sky. And push those palms up as much as we can, stretching out those shoulders. And then slowly bring those arms back down, rotate them, release the hands. Exhale, bring those arms down, letting them come down around behind the back and interlace those hands behind the back this time. Push those palms away from the back, open up that chest, and take a few deep breaths. And slowly bring those arms back into the body. Release those shoulders forward. Release the hands, let them come down by the sides. Open those palms out wide. Close the eyes. Take a deep inhale in. And exhale it out. And on that next inhale, we'll bring those arms up. Gaze going up towards those thumbs. Exhale, open those palms out wide. Start to swan dive over the legs. Inhale, slide those hands coming halfway. Exhale, folding back forward. Inhale, we're going to come all the way up. Bringing those arms. Exhaling them down. Inhale, bring those arms up. Exhale, open those palms wide. Start to swan dive over the legs. Inhale, slide those hands coming halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come all the way up. Bringing those arms. Exhale them down. Inhale, bring the arms up, gaze going up towards those thumbs. Exhale, open those arms out wide, swan dive over those legs. Inhale, slide those hands coming halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come all the way up. Bring those arms. Exhale them down. Take a breath here. On our next inhale, bringing those arms back up, gaze going up towards those thumbs. Exhale, opening those arms out wide, swan dive over the legs. Inhale, slide those hands, come halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, step those feet back to that high plank or drop down onto those knees. Exhale, coming all the way onto that mat. Untuck those toes. Inhale, just lift that chest. Exhale, fold. Inhale, push back to down dog. Take a breath here. And on that next inhale, walk those feet up to those hands. Folding over the legs. And inhale, come all the way up. Bringing those arms. Exhale them down. Inhale, bring the arms up. Gaze going up towards those thumbs. Exhale, open those palms out wide. Swan dive over the legs. Inhale, sliding those hands, coming halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, step the feet back to that high plank or onto those knees. Exhale, coming all the way down. Untuck the toes. Inhale, lift that chest. Exhale, down. Inhale, step or push back to down dog. Take a breath here. And on the next inhale, walk the feet up to the hands. Fold over the legs. And inhale, come all the way up. Bring those arms. Exhale them down. Inhale, bring the arms up. Gaze going up towards those thumbs. Exhale, open those arms wide. Swan dive over the legs. Inhale, slide those hands, coming halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, step those feet back to that high plank or dropping onto those knees. Exhale, coming all the way down, untucking the toes. Inhale, lift that chest. Exhale, down. Inhale, push back to down dog. Taking that breath here. On that next inhale, walk those feet up to those hands. Fold over the legs. And inhale, come all the way up. Bring those arms. Exhale them down. We'll take a breath here. On our next inhale, we're going to bring the hands up, gaze going up towards those thumbs. As we exhale, we're going to open the arms out wide. We're going to go into that swan dive, but we're only going to come halfway. So we're going to keep the arms out wide here. We can have a bend in those knees so we're not straining those legs. Try to keep a flat back here so you're not going to round the back forward. We'll hold here for just a couple breaths. If the arms need a break, you can always take them, just rest them on those hips. Hold here for a couple more breaths. And then on the next inhale, we're going to lift ourselves back up to standing, bringing those arms up. And exhale, let those arms come down. We're going to go into a balance pose with our left leg. So that left leg is going to be that planted foot. So letting those arms just kind of come out to the side to help a little bit with that balance. Finding that spot on the floor that's not moving in front of us. We're going to start to lift those right toes up. Start to bring that knee up to the chest, holding here. And then when we feel ready, we're gonna take that leg, cross it over our planted foot. If we can, take that foot, wrap it around the calf, or just kind of let it hang off to the side here. Or if that balance is a little bit challenged today, we can take that foot, slide it down so those toes are just tapping that mat. Help a little bit with that balance. So that plant leg has a little bit of bend in the knee, so we're not straight, so it's kind of supporting that foot or supporting that leg. And when we feel that we have the balance here, we're going to take those arms, bring them in front, and we're going to take the right arm, bring it underneath that left arm, rotate those palms so they're facing each other, bringing those arms together. And then we want to try to lift those elbows so we're at a little bit of a 90-degree angle here, so we're not resting down on that chest. And hold here for a couple breaths. We're going to hold this balance for just a little longer than we normally would here. So focus on the breath. If at any point you fall out of the balance, you can always get back into it. We'll hold it for just a couple more breaths here. And then slowly unwrap those arms and let them come out. Unwrap those feet, let that foot come down and shake those legs out. And we'll come to the top of our mat. Let those feet come down onto the mat, kind of at a hip distance apart. Just let the hands come to the side. We're going to close the eyes, take a couple breaths here. Take a moment to just kind of refocus on the breath. And then we'll open those eyes back up. We're going to take that left leg, step it back long on the mat, and take the back foot so it's parallel with that mat. So make sure that that front foot, the heel is about in line with about the middle of that back foot. Those hips are pointing over to the side. So you need to take those hands, place them on the hips, kind of give them a little shift over, and then put a bend in that front knee. Take those arms out over the legs and bring the gaze over that front middle finger. Relaxing those shoulders down the back so we're not bringing them up in towards the ears. That front knees over that ankle so we're not tilting it anywhere. I take a few deep breaths. Trying to keep those arms as even as we can with each other so we don't want to drop that back one because it'll tend to start to fall. Take a couple more deep breaths here. And then we'll slowly release those hands down to the hips, straighten that front leg. Rotate the foot so it's also parallel with the mat. Take a moment to kind of line those toes up with each other as much as we can. And then take those toes, rotate them so they're now pointing off to the side, those corners of the mat. And then take the arms on an inhale, bring them up. And as we exhale, we're going to start to bend those knees and bend those arms down, opening those fingers out wide, holding here. So that weight's all in those heels, tucking those tailbones so we're not arching those backs. Take a few deep breaths. So we're holding each of our poses just a tiny bit longer tonight. And then on an inhale, we're gonna straighten those legs, straighten those arms. Take a moment right here to rotate those feet so they're back parallel with each other. And on an exhale, fold straight down over those legs. Let the head hang here. Let everything just hang. Shoulders, neck. Take a few deep breaths. And then we'll take those hands, placing them right under the face, straightening those elbows, walking those hands towards the front of the mat, rotating those feet so we're up on those back toes. And then take that front foot, step it back to a high plank or onto the knees. On an exhale, we're going to come all the way down onto the mat. Untuck those toes. Inhale, lifting that chest. Exhale, fold. Inhale, push back to down dog. Taking a breath here. On the inhale, walk the feet up to the hands. Folding over the legs. And inhale, come all the way up. Bringing those arms. Exhale them down. We'll hold here for a breath. And then take those feet, put them about that hip distance apart. And on the inhale, bringing those arms up, gaze going up towards those thumbs. On the exhale, opening those arms, starting that swan dive, coming halfway. Holding those arms out to the side, keeping that length in the back. Again, you can put a little bit of a bend in those knees so you're not straining the knees here or straining those backs of the legs. And holding here. Again, if those arms need a little bit of a rest, you can take them and rest them on those hips. Holding here for a few more breaths. And then on the next inhale, slowly lifting ourselves back up. Inhale, bring those arms up. And exhale, let them come down. Take those hands to the sides, opening those palms out wide. Close the eyes, take a couple breaths here. And we'll open those eyes back up. Take that. Oh, I'm sorry, we totally forgot to do our balance on this side. So we'll go into our balance. So this time that right leg's our planted leg. So letting those arms come down to the side, letting them kind of float out, finding that spot on the floor that's not moving. Starting to roll up those left toes. And bringing that knee up to the chest. Hold here to get that balance. And then take that leg, crossing it over that planted leg. Again, putting a little bit of a knee in, or bend in that planted foot or planted knee. So we can kind of rest that leg on it. And then taking those toes, either tucking them around the calf, just kind of letting them hang off to the side, or sliding it down if that balance is a little bit challenged on this side. So those toes can kind of hover on that mat. And then once we get that balance, we'll bring those arms up. This time crossing that left arm under, rotating those hands so those palms are facing each other. Bringing the palms together. And then again, those arms up at that 90-degree angle so they're not resting down on the chest. And take those deep breaths here, focusing on the breath. We'll hold this for, again, just a little bit longer. So if you fall out of the pose at any point, feel free to jump right back into it. And take a few deep breaths. And then we'll slowly release those arms and release the legs and shake those legs out. And now coming to the top of our mat, let's take those breaths again. Let those arms come down, close the eyes. We'll just take one here. Take a deep inhale in and exhale it out. Opening those eyes back up. And this time we're going to take that right foot, stepping it back along onto the mat so that back foot is parallel. I'm going to rotate around. So that back foot is parallel with the mat, and that front ankle, or not ankle, but well, I guess ankle is in line with the middle of that back foot. Taking the hands on the hips, kind of rotating those hips over so they're off to the side, and then putting that bend in that front knee. Taking those arms out over the legs and gaze over that front middle finger. Trying to keep that front knee over the ankle and relaxing the shoulders down the back so we're not arching them up in there. And trying to keep those arms as even as we can with each other so we're not dropping them down. And take a few breaths. Relaxing into this pose. Feeling strong and steady here. We'll hold it for a couple more breaths. And on the next exhale, let those arms come down, straighten that front leg. Rotate that foot now so it's also parallel with the mat. And again, take that moment to line those toes up with each other as best as we can. And then take those feet, rotate them so they're parallel with the mat, those corners, not parallel, but facing off to those corners of the mat. And on the inhale, bring those arms up. And on an exhale, we're going to put that bend in those knees, starting to bring those arms down, opening those palms out wide. So again, that weight's all in those heels, tucking those tailbones here so we're not arching the back. Taking those deep breaths. Holding it for those extra few breaths here. And then on that next inhale, straighten those legs, straighten those arms. Take those feet while we're here, rotate them so they're also parallel with the mat. And on an exhale, dropping ourselves down, folding between those legs, and then letting it all hang. Take a few deep breaths. And then we'll take those hands, walk them to the front of that mat, rotating those feet so we're up on that back toe. And step that front foot back into a down dog here. Take a couple breaths. And And then on the next exhale, coming down onto those knees, untucking those toes, take those feet, or sorry, those knees out wide on the mat, tuck those big toes together, sink those hips down over the heels, slide the hands out, drop the forehead to the mat. Take a few breaths here. Taking this opportunity to allow ourselves to reconnect with the breath. Also, if we've lost it a little bit throughout the practice, allowing ourselves to catch it here. And then on the next inhale, we're going to bring ourselves up onto those hands and those knees, bringing those knees back in so they're under those hips. And start to walk the hands back. So we're going to sit down onto those heels. And then it's time to, well, I guess we could have done this before. Scoot those knees in so they're together as much as we can. And it's still comfortable, but we don't want a big gap between the knees. You can also take a yoga block or a pillow or something and put it between the legs so you're kind of sitting up on that. Takes a little bit of the pressure off of the legs here and the knees. We're going to go into a kind of supported back bend here. So we're going to take the hands, and if you have yoga blocks or anything, you can put them behind you, and that will kind of help so you're not all the way down on the floor. It gives you a little bit of support, or some books or something back here. But we're going to take the hands, and you can start with whatever hand. If you want to start with our left hand, just kind of walk it behind you, and then let it come down so you're on that palm. And then take that opposite hand and just kind of walk it behind you as much as you can. So those hands or those wrists are kind of under those shoulders here. And then we can stay just kind of right here. And the hands can face any direction that's comfortable. So if it's facing in towards the body, out towards the side, or kind of off at an angle, whatever is comfortable for you here. So just kind of get familiar with this position here. And then we'll start to just kind of push the hips up, and we're just going to stay right here with the hands on the floor. Take a few breaths. So we're not going to get very high up here off of those feet. Unless you're really, really flexible, then you might be able to get pretty high up off there. But just take a few breaths. So it almost feels as if we're pushing those legs up against a wall that's right on top of us, I guess. Take another more, or a couple more breaths here. And then slowly start to bring those hips back down, bringing the gaze back forward, and then slowly start to walk the hands up, bringing ourselves back up onto the knees. And you can, if you want, you can sit up here so you're kind of taking the pressure off the legs, but just let those hands fall down by the sides and just kind of give them a shape and roll those wrists around. And then kind of roll those shoulders. And then let the arms come down. We're going to place those hands on the mat in front of us. Slowly walk them out so we're up on those hands and those knees here. Take the knees, walk them so they're under those hips, placing those hands under those shoulders. And then kind of give those toes a little wiggle. Sometimes they tend to go a little numb there. The blood rushes out of them. And then place them back down. So make sure those knees are right under the hips. And then we're going to take the hands and walk them out so we come down right onto those elbows. And we're going to take the hands just coming straight out, placing them on the mat. And we're just going to stay right here. So we can just let that head hang right here. So try not to arch the belly down here. Trying to keep a neutral spine. So keeping some strength in that core here to keep that neutral spine. So you're bringing that belly up into that spine. And if you have that yoga block, you can place that right under the forehead so it has something to rest on if that neck needs a little bit of a break here. Take a few breaths. And then we'll start to lift that head up. Take the hands, place them right where those elbows were, coming back up onto those hands and those knees. Tuck the toes behind us. Start to lift the hips up. Come into a down dog here. Take a couple breaths. Feel free to pedal those feet out. And let those feet come into stillness. We're going to start to shift ourselves forward, coming into that high plank. You can always drop down onto the knees here. So instead of coming all the way down onto the mat, this time we're going to come halfway, just bending those elbows. Start to scoop ourselves forward, roll up, bring that gaze up towards the sky. You can drop the knees down, but make sure to tighten the core here. Take a couple breaths. And then if we can, roll ourselves back up to that down dog. And take a couple more breaths up here. And then drop down back onto those knees. And untuck the toes. And again, take that moment to line up everything here. So those shoulders are under the wrists are under the shoulders. Knees are under those hips. And on an inhale, we're going to drop the belly down, bring the gaze up. And on an exhale, roll the spine, tuck the chin to the chest. Inhale, dropping the belly down, bringing the gaze up. Exhale, roll that spine, tuck that chin. Inhale, drop the belly down, bring that gaze up. Exhale, roll the spine, tuck the chin. Inhale, dropping the belly down, bringing the gaze up. Exhale, roll the spine, tuck the chin. And doing it one more time. Inhale, dropping the belly down, bringing the gaze up. And exhale, roll the spine, tuck the chin. On the next inhale, coming to a neutral spine. Excuse me. We're going to take the right knee, and start to bring it under us. So it's directly under us. So if you want, you can take that left foot, kind of place those toes on the mat, and then slide that right knee forward. So it's under the body, and then take that back foot, rest it down on the mat. So we want to make sure that we're staying up on that right hip, so we're not rolling down onto that hip. So that front knee is kind of that stretch anchor, so the more that knee faces directly in front of us, depending on how tight your hips are, will be either less of a stretch or more of a stretch. So if you take the shin and kind of walk it so it's parallel with the mat, that would be the deepest part of a pose here. So wherever you're at, we're going to stay up here on the hands to allow that hip to kind of relax and kind of understand what we're doing here before we get any deeper. So at any time throughout this pose, as we move down, if anything starts to hurt or become uncomfortable, feel free to back out of the pose. And take a few breaths. And then if we're ready, we can start to walk down, coming onto those elbows. And we'll hold here for a few breaths to allow that hip to relax. Sending the breath into the hip here. Throughout the pose, feel free to wiggle those right toes around, allowing that blood to come back into that foot. And then if we feel ready, we'll come down even farther. So we can take the hands, kind of stack them on top of each other, stack the fists on top of each other, or the forehead can come directly down onto the mat. Again, if this is too much, feel free to go to any other part or any other position with those hands. Take a few deep breaths. Again, allowing that hip to release here. Give those toes that little wiggle. We'll hold here for just a couple more breaths. And then to come out of this pose, we'll slowly start to lift that head if it's all the way down on the mat. Start to bring those elbows in so they're under those shoulders. Take the hands, place them right where those elbows are, bringing ourselves all the way up. And then we're slowly going to start to roll down onto that right hip. Bringing that left leg around, swinging both legs forward here. And give them a nice wiggle. Let all that blood rush back into that leg. And then when we're ready, we'll come back up onto those hands and those knees and get that other hip so we're nice and even here. So again, we can take that right foot, kind of place those toes back on the mat, stepping it out long, and then take that left knee, bringing it up under the body, and take that right leg, stretching out, untucking those toes. Placing that knee wherever we feel like we're going to get the most stretch. Remembering to keep that left hip up so we're not rolling down. So if we need a pillow or anything under that hip, feel free to place it there. Take a few breaths here. And we'll hold each position for a couple breaths to allow that leg, that hip to relax and to know what we're going to do here. And if we feel ready, we'll come down onto those elbows. Only when we feel ready. And take those deep breaths. And feel free to wiggle those toes throughout the pose to kind of let that blood rush back into that foot. You might find that one side of the body a little bit looser than the other side, or maybe a little tighter. And that's completely normal. Same with our balance. One side's usually a little bit better balanced than the other. And then if we feel ready, we can start to come down onto that forehead, onto those stacked hands, stacked fists, or directly down onto the mat. And taking those deep breaths here. And give those toes that little bit of a wiggle. And then let them rest down on the mat. And at any time, again, if that hip starts to tighten up or gets to be uncomfortable, feel free to back out of the pose. And take a couple more breaths here. And then to come out of the pose, we'll slowly start to lift that head up, bringing those elbows in under those shoulders, and then taking those hands right where those elbows were, coming up onto those hands, and then slowly starting to roll down onto that left hip, bringing that back leg around, straightening that left leg, and giving it that nice wiggle here. And wiggle both legs. Let all that blood come back. And then we're going to take those legs out wide in front of us. So take them out as wide as is comfortable. So whether that's just as wide as the mat or all the way into splits, whatever works for you. Take the hands behind you. Make sure you're up on those sit bones. And then start to kind of walk the front body forward. And then bring those arms around. You can take hold of the feet, or you can let those hands come right down between the legs. Wherever you're at, try to keep the length into that back so we're not rounding the upper body over the mat. You can always have a bend in those knees so those legs don't have to be straight out. And take those deep breaths. We'll only hold this for a couple breaths here. And then take those hands on the floor, start to push ourselves back up. We'll take the hands under those knees, give those legs a little help up, bringing them back on the mat. And we're slowly going to make our way all the way down onto our backs. And take a moment right here to just take a couple breaths. And then take that left leg, let it rest all the way down on the mat. We're going to take the right arm and kind of place it off to the side so it can give us a little bit of support. So it's kind of like a half lowercase t. Bring the right knee into the chest. Take the left hand, place it on the outside of that right knee, and slowly guide that knee over the body. So we're getting a nice twist here in that lower back, and then also a stretch in that glute hip area of that right leg. And take a few breaths. And then take that left hand, placing it on the inside of that knee this time. Start to guide that leg back over. Taking that foot, placing it back down on the mat. And then let that right leg come down. Bring that left foot up onto the mat. Taking the left hand out this time, kind of that halfway lowercase t, allowing us some support. Bring that left knee into the chest, taking the right hand this time on the outside of that knee, and slowly guiding that leg over the body. So we're twisting that back and also stretching out that glute and hip. Take a few deep breaths. And we'll take that right hand, placing it on the inside of that leg this time, slowly shifting that leg back over, placing that foot back down onto the mat. Take that right foot, bringing it up on the mat, and then walk those feet so they're on the wide edges of the mat. Take the hands off to the side, and then just let those knees fall side to side here. Rotating back and forth, taking our time, allowing ourselves to get a little massage on that sacrum, also stretching out those hips here. And then let those legs come back up, walking those feet back center. Take those feet, bring them all the way down onto the mat. And take those arms up overhead, doing one final stretch. So stretch those arms all the way up, stretching those legs all the way down. Full body stretch here, just like we're waking up in the morning. And then let it all fall down onto the mat. Let those legs fall to wherever's comfortable. Bring those arms down alongside the body. Start to close the eyes. Start to refocus on the breath. Feeling it move in, down the back of the throat. Filling all the spaces in the lungs. And moving down to the fingertips and toe tips. And feeling it leave the body on that same path with each exhale. Trying to clear the mind of any thoughts we might have. Releasing any tension or stress that we might be holding on to. Just watching it all float away with each exhale. Allowing ourselves to sink deeper and deeper into our mats. Knowing that these next few moments are just for you. So allow yourself to just be here, relaxing on your mat. Start to bring a little life back into the body by wiggling the fingers and toes. Start to roll the wrists and ankles. Rock the head from side to side. Begin deepening your inhales and exhales. When you feel ready, slowly take one foot, place it on the mat, and follow it by the other foot. And then bringing one knee into the chest, followed by the other. Take hold of the legs and rock side to side. And when you feel ready, roll onto your right side. With your right side grounded by the earth, leaving your left side open to the sun, the moon, and the stars, and all the gifts the universe has to offer you today. When you feel ready, slowly come up to a comfortable seated position. We'll take the hands in front of the heart, close the eyes one last time, take a deep inhale, and exhale it all out. Thank you for sharing your practice with me this evening. I hope you have a great rest of your night. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.
Did you say there was not yoga? Is it next week?